That worked pretty well. Check. All right, well, happy Friday, Central Georgia. It's Meteorologist Ansley Parker here. I am in for Alex Pry this morning, and so we are going to continue to take a look at the extended forecast heading into the weekend. Now, the one thing that we have been just shouting from the rooftops is that there is no winter weather chances in this weekend's forecast, and in fact, there's really just not a lot of crazy weather happening in the long term. We have a very, very much well-deserved pattern of quietness setting up here in the next 7 days. So it's a pretty boring forecast, but I'm okay with boring. Everybody else on the weather team is okay with boring. We can talk a little bit more specifically about what you need to know temperature-wise heading into this weekend, heading into Super Bowl celebrations, and then kind of temperature-wise into the rest of the week, because we are going to take a really big warm up. So that's kind of going to be the focus of what we're talking about today. I also want to touch a little bit on climatology for the month of February and talk a little bit more about what's going to be changing this month. Daylight's going to be changing a lot. Temperatures are going to be changing a lot. And then the kind of expected amounts of rainfall that we should have to be near average. Just want to kind of show you all those things as we progress further into the new month here. So starting like we always do with the sky cams across the area. We've got blue skies out there right now, and it is just beautiful, especially after the last couple of days. For the past 2 days or so, you may remember we had some cloud cover. We did have some occasional drizzle, and it was just kind of cold and dreary through the middle of the work week. Now it's a totally different story. A cold front has come through. We've got blue skies. We also have a little bit of an increased breeze as well, so it's a little breezy out there. The good news is, though, the direction of those winds, it's not coming in from the north, so it's not filtering in a bunch of cooler air. It has a little bit of a different direction. So it's a westerly wind, which actually is probably helping things feel almost a little bit warmer as it admits some warmer air into our area. So it's 52 degrees in downtown Macon right now. Across kind of the eastern portion of the United States, you can see we're in somewhat relatively warmer numbers compared to what's going on up in the north, but there is actually a good number of places that are sitting in some warmer numbers in general. So we're not under, that true polar air that we see a lot and we saw a lot as we were in the month of January. When we would flip this map on, we would see purples, we would see dark blues kind of taking over the entire map. Now you see a lot more green, and we're just having areas that are just sitting closer to where they should be for this time of year, and that includes us here in the state of Georgia. So across the state, we're actually one of the warmer spots right now. We have a lot of places that are hanging out in the mid to upper 40s. Here across central Georgia, there is a lot of 40s on there, but we do have a couple of 50s as well. So we're sitting somewhere between the mid 40s to the upper 40s to the low 50s. And again, this probably doesn't feel so bad because this westerly wind is probably bringing a little bit more moisture into our area as well. And you can see that as we flip over to the wind gusts. Now we do occasionally have some strong gusts that may feel a little bit cool. We have wind gusts up to around 25 miles an hour today. So in fact, in terms of what the weather is going on right now, this may be one of the main things that you notice this afternoon, because we don't really have a ton going on. Obviously, we have lots of sunshine, so winds themselves may actually just be one of the most notable features heading into the rest of the day today. But you can see, like I said, the wind is maybe at times making things feel a little bit cooler, but overall, when we look over at the feels like numbers, the feels like numbers are pretty close to their actual value. Again, that wind that's coming in here is not a cold wind. It's coming in from the direction of the Gulf, so it's bringing in some warmer air and it's bringing in some moisture. So it feels more like a spring or a summer wind than the northwesterly wind that we get a lot here in our area that makes things feel so much colder. So feels like index, not quite as much of a thing today, which is good. Things just feel comfortable outside, and they will keep doing that through the rest of the day today. I mentioned yesterday we had the cloud cover, we had the rain. It was just a drearier day overall, and that includes the temperatures that we ended up seeing yesterday. In fact, I was in my hometown yesterday, which is up in the Atlanta area, and it snowed yesterday. How crazy is that? I was kind of walking out to my car, and there was this light drizzly rain out there, and it just got freezing cold, and that drizzly rain turned into a couple of flurries. So it's a totally different story to the weather that we were having yesterday. Here in central Georgia, it wasn't cold enough to support any sort of snowfall, but we had a high temperature only at 46 degrees. If you were out in that 46-degree temperature yesterday, you probably know it felt really cold, especially with the reinforcement of the rain-cooled air out there. It was just a little bit uncomfortable. So now we're actually sitting right where we should be for this time of year. Average high yesterday was 61. I think today it's 62. And so as we head into the rest of the day today, we are going to be basically right on average for this time of year. The high temperatures are going to be in the low 60s after days and days in the 40s and the 30s and weekends of just so much colder weather. This definitely feels comfortable and amplified when you factor in the sunshine that we have out there right now, that westerly breeze. Overall, just all these factors are adding to a warmer, breezier, sunnier day today, and just generally calm and pleasant conditions to kick off your weekend. So Friday's a great day. If you're looking for a reason to enjoy outdoor time tonight, you want to go to dinner, you just want to get outside and take advantage of the weekend, let it rip. Tonight is going to be a great night. Everything that you see out there right now does not change as we head into the weekend. So it's going to be really, really pleasant. And again, it's going to be one of the first pleasant weekends that we've had in quite some time. So naturally, that means that the satellite and radar is nice, quiet, and clear. But I show you kind of the bigger picture view to show you, when we look across the southeast, a lot of times we're looking out to the west, we're looking further to the north to see what's the next big system that's moving into our area. When we do that right now, there really isn't one. I mean, it's quiet across the southeast at the moment. There's nothing heading our way. And like I mentioned at the beginning of this, we're going to stay pretty quiet through the long-term forecast as well. So rain is actually going to be a little bit hard to come by through the rest of the weekend and into the upcoming work week as well. So as we go a little more locally here, not much is going to change, obviously. And there's nothing to pick out on our radar here in our area. So quiet and calm is the story for the rest of the day today. And the future view, I'm going to spoil a little bit. It looks extremely boring because obviously with no rain chances in the picture tonight's going to be a great night. But then as we head into the weekend, nothing really changes. So as we get ready to kick off Saturday morning, there's no changes in the way of rain chances, but there is one change that I want to point out to you because I just talked a lot about the direction of the winds, how much that impacts how temperatures feel, and how much that helps with filtering in warmer or colder air. Now notice, we're at Saturday morning now and the direction of the winds has changed. So what's going to be happening? Overnight tonight and into early tomorrow morning, we're going to have a cold front come through the area. That means that winds are going to start to come out of the northwest through the day on Saturday. So we are going to have a little bit of a cooler breeze on the day on Saturday, and the overall temperatures will also be a little bit lower. So it will be a bit chillier, but again, you see we don't have cloud cover out there. We still don't have a rain chance. So Saturday itself should still overall be a pleasant day. And I'll talk more about those winds and the temperature here in just a minute, but we'll focus in on rainfall for the time being. Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday, so if you're looking to get outdoors to tailgate, if you're trying to fire up the grill, if you want to watch the games outside, it's still going to be a great chance to do so. As we kick off Sunday morning, things are clear. As we head into Sunday evening, you may notice some slightly increased cloud cover by the late night hours, but overall it's still going to be smooth sailing. None of that cloud cover includes a rain chance, and you really should not have to worry about rain whatsoever throughout the day on Sunday. So a basically picture-perfect weekend as we head throughout the weekend. And I mentioned rain is going to be hard to come by even as we head into the upcoming work week. So now we're looking at the long-range models. We're at Monday. Obviously, you see some of that increased cloud cover that starts late night Sunday, but you don't see any rain chances for Monday or for Tuesday. Now, as we head into Wednesday, you can start to see something trying to make its way into the picture. But when we're looking at long-range models like this, and they kind of throw out these dots all over the place, this is usually picking up on the possibility for a scattered shower or two embedded within some cloud cover that's going to be moving into our area. But Is this our next organized rain chance? Absolutely not. It's not really coming together as an organized line, a widespread line. We've got about a 10% chance of rain on the 7-day forecast for both Wednesday and for Thursday to cover the basis for what the long range models are picking up on here. We could have some increased moisture. We could have some increased cloud cover that could support a shower or two, but overall, is that going to be, the next washout? Absolutely not. And that means that the rain chances on the 7-day forecast, again, still stay very, very low. So with Monday, Tuesday, and then Wednesday and Thursday just having those really light rain chances, we basically have almost an entirely dry week here. And it's the first time in a while that we've been able to do that. So that means that temperatures as we head into the long-term forecast are definitely going to be the bigger focus, and you'll notice them a lot more. We've had really cool weather for the last couple of days. As we head into kind of the rest of the 7-day here, you will start to notice that it is going to warm up big time. Now, it comes behind a slightly cooler weekend that we have here. Overall, it's not going to be super, super cool, but it will be a little bit colder than what we experienced today. And then again, we have a big warm up on the way. So I'm going to break both of those things down for you now so we can kind of talk a little bit further about what specifically that looks like. So through this afternoon, we will be right around average for this time of year. Average high is 62 degrees. I know that the graph model is undershooting this a bit, but I do think we'll be in the low 60s this afternoon. Again, this is when we still have kind of that westerly wind throughout the day today. But as we transition into the late night hours tonight and into early tomorrow morning, you'll start to notice a difference. Remember, that cold front is going to come through the area. It's going to change the direction of the winds, and it's also just going to filter in some cooler air to our area in general. So we'll play this forward. You'll see all this blue up here start to creep into our area. That's the front coming through. There it goes. And then we kick off early Saturday morning back down in the 30s. And as we head into Saturday afternoon, remember I promised it was going to be just a little bit cooler. As opposed to finding our way into the low 60s, we're going to find our way into about the mid to low 50s. So just a couple degrees cooler. But again, you will also have the component of the winds coming in from the northwest. So it will feel a bit chillier throughout the day on Saturday. Will it be freezing cold? No. Do you want to have a jacket on you as opposed to today? Probably. It's going to be a little bit cooler, but overall these temperatures are going to keep rebounding as we continue further into the weekend and then into the upcoming work week. So Sunday will be really cool. I actually, again, think that the graph is overshooting this number. I think we'll be somewhere in the 20s for Sunday morning. And then as we head into Sunday afternoon, those mid 50s start to turn into upper 50s. So it'll be a little bit warmer on Sunday, but both days will be in the 50s. So not quite as warm as what you experienced today, but they're working their way back up to numbers that are not terrible, and they are still going to be bearable throughout the day, both Saturday and Sunday. So my advice would be, you don't need a rain jacket all weekend long, but you may just need a regular jacket if you're planning on heading outside for both days. If you are one of those people who says that, the 50s are not cold, then you will be a-okay with 50s on Saturday and on Sunday. I think I'm one of those people that tends to over-exaggerate how cold it is, so use your best judgment, but we will be in the 50s for both Saturday and for Sunday. And then I said, we are going to quickly rebound heading into the upcoming work week. We have some big numbers on the 7-day forecast. These models don't go out quite that far, but I'll show you that laid out here in just a minute. So we talked a little bit about the winds. Today we will see some pretty strong gusts. Like I mentioned, you can have wind gusts today. This model says even up to about 30 miles an hour. I would say right around 25 probably for most places. And you'll probably notice this as we go throughout the afternoon. I mean, those are some strong gusts. They won't really feel terrible, again, because this is westerly wind, but you may notice this from time to time throughout the day today. Now, as we head into Saturday, the winds probably still will be up a bit. We're going to have that front come through. Behind cold fronts, we tend to see the winds still staying relatively strong. So throughout the day on Saturday, we could still have wind gusts that are in that 20-mile-an-hour range, and that will be a cold wind, because remember, that is coming in from the north. So somewhat of a cool breeze throughout the day on Saturday that may impact how those 50s feel just a little bit, but that wind should begin to die down as we go throughout the day on Sunday. So I'm playing the future view feels like numbers out now. We just looked at the future view actual temperatures. This factors in the wind that you see there. I actually think this does a better job of showing what the actual temperatures will look like, but we'll just walk through it for the sake of walking through it. So again, we're in the 60s today. Winds coming out of the west. The front comes in overnight tonight and into early Saturday morning. Will probably feel like the 20s, even though we'll be sitting in the low 30s. Then we go into Saturday afternoon. Luckily, the future view feels like model does not really project that it's going to feel too much colder in the afternoon. So hopefully that will be the case with the winds, being in the 20-mile-an-hour range. They could still from time to time make things feel a little bit cooler, but hopefully it's not quite as drastic as, numbers that we've seen in the past. And then, like I said, I actually think we will be in the 20s on Sunday morning. I think this is a better job of actual temperatures as opposed to feels like temperatures. And then we are going to keep warming up heading into Sunday afternoon. High temperatures will be somewhere in the upper 50s. So that's everything I just said, just kind of reiterated on another graphic there. But that will be temperatures for the weekend. And then, of course, as we head into the long-term forecast, those temperatures get a lot warmer. But before I get there, I want to talk a little bit about the upcoming weekend. Of course, we have the Super Bowl on the way this Sunday. I'm going to show you a little bit more of a specialized forecast on that. In the near future, there's a couple of holidays on there. Valentine's Day is not far away, so if you have someone special in your life, no, it's only over a week away. So Valentine's Day is coming up. Then we have President's Day just behind that. And then my favorite is the time change. We're going to start seeing that time creep back. This is the one where we spring forward, so we start to gain more daylight, but that is the one where you lose an hour of sleep. So that will be soon, in just under a month. That's at the end of March, sometime around March 20th, I think is when it is. And that's when we'll be seeing, again, the longer days. We'll have earlier starts to the day, later starts to the night, and that is coming up pretty soon. So we'll talk a little bit more about that here in just a minute as well. I did want to talk about what the sunset and sunrise times will be. Oh my goodness, I thought this was going to play all the way through without a pause, but I actually did put a pause point. So this is the forecast that is over in California. That's actually where the Super Bowl is being played. And they do have a really slight chance of rain. This is an open air stadium. I just wanted to kind of show you what things could actually be like over there. Overall, it's probably not going to be something that has much of an impact. They play around the afternoon time there, and you can see by that time there's one or two showers that are trying to pop up. Anything that pops up, I really don't think is going to be super impactful, and it's not a major rain chance for the city itself by any means. But there's a chance for a shower or two. We could potentially see one. Anything that does fall, though, will be light and will be very short-lived. As we head into the late night hours over in that area, that's where the rain starts to increase a bit. But obviously, we are very, very far away from the West Coast, and that's just kind of what things will look like out there. I was looking for anything that could potentially impact the time of the game or gameplay actually happening, but it really doesn't look like that's going to be the case. So we should be good to go with our tailgates here in Central Georgia, with our viewing parties. Anything that you have going on should be smooth sailing. If you are like me and you're excited about the halftime show, then you should be good to go to watch the halftime show. Super Bowl stuff should be all good to go this weekend. So with that being said, let's talk a little bit more about the month of February. I will just go ahead and say off the bat, this graphic has a lot going on. This is one that meteorologist Alex Pry pulled from another station within our network here, and it is a lot. So I'm going to kind of explain a little bit why I pulled this up and what I wanted to show you actually on this graphic. So what I mainly wanted to talk about was the way that these averages are going to climb as we go throughout the rest of the month. So we're in the early portion of the month. Our average high actually now is 62 degrees, but that's where we should be sitting. We're starting to feel these numbers be a little bit warmer, and I know a lot of people have also been talking about the groundhog being totally wrong, but we're just actually sitting closer to where we should be for this time of year. The average low should not be quite as low as we've been. It should be somewhere in the upper 30s. So we are kind of at this starting point here where we're starting to remember, oh yeah, actually this is where we're supposed to be sitting for this time of year. Not only that, but I wanted to talk a little more about the daylight savings and how much daylight we're going to be gaining as we go throughout the month of February. We're not at the time change just yet, but as we go throughout the month of February, we actually gain on average around 50 minutes here in Central Georgia. So right now, our sunrise time is right around 7:30. Our sunset time, not terrible, it's around 6:07 in the evening. Now, as we go into the end of the month, February happens quick, it's only 28 days. By the time we're at the end of February, our average high temperature is going to be 67 degrees. So we're going to be close to the 70-degree mark by the time we get to the end of the month. So we should be trending a whole lot warmer as we go throughout the rest of the month here. Our average low, now our lows have been well below average for many, many, many days, but our average low by the end of the month is supposed to be back down in the low 40s. So if February feels like, the temperatures are getting a lot warmer and it feels super abnormal to you, it feels like that to me a lot as well. I always catch myself being like, whoa, it's gotten so much warmer. We're actually kind of just trending back to where we should be for this time of year. And by the end of the month, that means that we should be in the upper 60s in the afternoons and in the low 40s in the morning. So just something to keep in mind as we talk a little more about temperatures through the rest of the month. In terms of the daylight, the sunrise will start a little bit earlier by the end of the month. We'll be starting that around 7 a.m., which I am looking forward to. And then as we head into the evening, Sunset will be closer to 6:30. And then of course, once we jump the time, that will be even later. So that is something to look forward to through the end of the month. We get a lot more daylight. The days just get longer. And I think we kind of come out of that stretch of just really, really dark days when the sun feels like it goes down so early. So that will be the month of February there. And then the last thing we have to check on is the 7-day forecast, which looks extremely boring. Like I said, there's not a ton going on in the weather department, but the one thing that's kind of crazy is the temperature. So as we go throughout the rest of the day today, obviously we're in the 60s, and then we talked a little bit about the weekend. Temperatures are going to be a bit lower. After that front comes through, Saturday will be in the low to mid 50s. Sunday is going to be in the mid to upper 50s. So cooler, but not terrible by any means. But when you compare it to where we'll be sitting in the upcoming work week, I mean, that is a pretty big difference. We'd make a huge jump Sunday into Monday, almost a 10-degree temperature jump. We go from the upper 50s to the upper 60s to the low 70s by the time we're in the middle portion of the work week. So we are going to have a big warm up as we head into the upcoming work week, but you also see rain chances pretty hard to find here on the 7-day. We've got the 10% chance of rain covering the bases for a scattered shower or two that could be possible on Wednesday or Thursday, but we will really need the higher resolution models to come into focus about what that rain chance really looks like before we jump those rain chances up anymore. Right now, it is a very calm and quiet forecast all the way through the end of the work week next week. And again, the temperatures will be the bigger focus because we're going to go from the 50s all the way to the 70s as we go into the middle portion of next week. So if you're a warm weather lover, that's something to look forward to. If you're not so much, you know how it goes here. There will be a cool down on the other side of this at some point. So that's kind of where things stand right now as we head into the upcoming weekend. Again, we will be talking a little more about the forecast throughout the entire weekend. So if you're looking for more information, you are in the right place right now on 13 WMAZ+. We will see you coming up here at midday, and then we can talk a little bit further. Thanks so much for joining us.